Every night, as millions of Americans sleep, a silent watch is kept over the skies of North America. This is not a scene from a movie. It is a real-life 24/7 operation. Deep inside a mountain in Colorado, and at bases across Canada, military personnel from two nations work side by side. They stare at screens, tracking every single object that flies over the continent. It's an immense task, a constant vigil against a threat that could arrive in minutes. Most people go about their lives, completely unaware of this invisible shield protecting them from potential missile strikes. This defense is a testament to one of the world's most enduring and unique military partnerships. The responsibility is shared, but Canada's role is absolutely critical. Imagine a massive invisible fence stretching across the top of the world. Canada provides the land, the radar stations, and the people to maintain that fence. Without this northern warning line, the United States would be dangerously blind to attacks coming over the Arctic. This isn't just a friendly favor, it is a deeply integrated system where Canadian eyes and ears provide the first crucial moments of warning. This early detection is the difference between having a chance to respond and facing a surprise attack. It is a partnership born out of necessity and geography, making Canada an indispensable guardian of American skies. This nightly defense is more than just watching for missiles. It involves tracking everything from stray satellites to unidentified aircraft. The teams must analyze data in real time, making split-second decisions that have massive consequences. Is that blip on the screen a commercial airliner, of course, or is it something far more sinister? The pressure is immense, and the stakes could not be higher. This is the daily reality for the men and women of the North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD. They are the unsung heroes who ensure that each night is a peaceful one for hundreds of millions of people. The story of this protection is not static, it is constantly evolving. As technology advances, so do the threats. The simple ballistic missiles of the Cold War have given way to faster, smarter, and harder to detect weapons. This constant evolution demands that the defense shield also evolves. The quiet nightly watch is now at the forefront of a new debate about the future of North American security. A massive new project is on the table, promising an even stronger shield, but at a staggering cost. The decisions being made today, in Ottawa and Washington, will define the safety of the continent for generations to come. The story of this unique military alliance begins in the chilling days of the Cold War. After World War II, the world was divided into two camps, led by the United States and the Soviet Union. A new and terrifying threat emerged: long-range bombers capable of carrying nuclear weapons across the Arctic. Suddenly, the vast icy expanse to the north was no longer a frozen wasteland. It was the most direct attack route between the superpowers. Both Canada and the United States realized they were facing the same danger. They understood that defending against this threat could not be done alone. This shared vulnerability led to an unprecedented level of cooperation. In the 1950s, the two countries began building a series of radar lines across Canada's north. First came the Pine Tree Line, then the Mid-Canada Line, and finally, the most famous of all, the Distant Early Warning, or DEW Line. These stations were marvels of engineering, built in some of the harshest environments on Earth. They were designed to detect incoming Soviet bombers, giving North American forces precious hours to scramble fighter jets and prepare a defense. This was the foundation of a truly integrated continental defense system. The partnership was formalized in 1958 with the creation of the North American Air Defense Command, later renamed the North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD. This was something the world had never seen before. It was a joint command with a single commander responsible for the air defense of two sovereign nations. A Canadian general would serve as the deputy to an American commander, and Canadian personnel would work alongside their American counterparts at every level. It was a profound symbol of trust, a recognition that the security of one nation was inseparable from the security of the other. For over 60 years, NORAD has been the cornerstone of this defense relationship. Its mission has expanded from tracking bombers to monitoring for ballistic missile launches. and controlling the airspace over the continent. The command's most famous mission, of course, is tracking Santa Claus on Christmas Eve, a tradition that beautifully illustrates the public face of this serious military operation. But behind that charming tradition lies a deadly serious purpose to provide warning of any attack on North America and to coordinate the response. This historic friendship, forged in the fire of the Cold War, continues to protect the continent every single day. Canada's geography is its greatest contribution to North American defense. The country acts as a giant buffer between the United States and any potential aggressor approaching from over the North Pole. This makes the Canadian Arctic the front line for detecting airborne threats. The old DW line has since been replaced by the North Warning System, a chain of modern automated radar stations stretching from Alaska to Labrador. These unmanned stations are the continent's northern tripwire. They are the first to see any aircraft or cruise missile that crosses into North American airspace from the north, relaying that information instantly to NORAD headquarters. The people are just as important as the technology. At Canadian Forces Base North Bay in Ontario, Canadian and American military personnel work together in a hardened underground complex. This is the nerve center for Canada's contribution to NORAD. They monitor the data streaming in from the North Warning System and other radars across the country. It is their job to analyze this information, identify potential threats, and communicate their findings to the main command center in Colorado. These Canadian operators are not just assisting, they are an integral part of the decision-making process, providing vital regional expertise and a crucial second set of eyes. Beyond the radar stations, Canada also provides the basis from which a defense can be mounted. Forward operating locations, or FOLs, are strategically located airfields in places like Inuvik and Iqaluit in the far north. These are not full-time military bases, but are kept ready to host fighter jets at a moment's notice. If a threat is detected by the North Warning System, NORAD can rapidly deploy Canadian and American fighter aircraft to these northern airfields. This allows them to intercept hostile bombers or cruise missiles long before they can reach major population centers in either country. Canada provides the launchpad for North America's aerial shield. This Arctic watch is becoming more important than ever. For decades, the Arctic was a frozen and largely inaccessible region. But with climate change causing sea ice to melt, the area is opening up to shipping, resource exploration, and increased military activity from countries like Russia and China. The strategic importance of the Arctic is growing rapidly, and with it, the potential for conflict. Canada's presence and surveillance capabilities in the north are no longer just about defending against a Cold War-style attack. They are about monitoring and controlling a newly contested and critical part of the world. The world has changed and the threats have changed with it. The old model of watching for bombers and ballistic missiles is no longer enough. In response to this new reality, the United States and Canada are now working on a revolutionary new project. Announced in October 2025 by President Donald Trump and Canadian Premier Mark Carney, it is called the Golden Dome. This ambitious plan aims to create a comprehensive, multi-layered shield over both nations. It is designed to protect against not just traditional missiles, but a whole new generation of weapons that can bypass our current defenses. The Golden Dome is inspired by the success of Israel's Iron Dome system, which proved its effectiveness during the Iranian attacks in the spring of 2024. The idea is to build something similar, but on a continental scale. The system is planned to have several layers. The outer layer would consist of space-based sensors and interceptors designed to take out threats high above the Earth's atmosphere. Lower layers would use ground-based and sea-based radars and interceptor missiles to catch anything that gets through. The goal is to create a seamless, impenetrable shield that can stop an attack from anywhere in the world. This is a massive undertaking, with an estimated cost of $175 billion over the next 3 years. The project is being led by the U.S. Space Force, under the direction of General Michael Gwetland and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. President Trump personally selected the system's architecture in May 2025, signaling a major push from the highest levels of the US government. The plan represents a fundamental shift in defense strategy, moving from a policy of deterrence through retaliation to one of active, layered defense. It is an attempt to make North America a fortress against modern missile technology. For Canada, the Golden Dome represents both a challenge and an opportunity. The project builds upon the decades-long partnership of NORAD, but it will require a new level of investment and integration. Canadian industry, technology, and personnel will be needed to help build, operate, and maintain this complex system. The new shield will need to be fully integrated with Canada's existing Northern warning systems, and Canadian decision-makers will need a seat at the table as this new era of continental defense takes shape. The Golden Dome is not just an American project, it is the proposed future of North American security. The push for a system like the Golden Dome comes from a very real and honestly growing sense of vulnerability. Our current defense systems, which were mostly designed during the Cold War, are becoming obsolete. They were built to counter two main threats: bombers flying at predictable speeds and ballistic missiles following high arching trajectories. But our adversaries are no longer playing by those rules. They've developed a new class of weapons that are faster, more agile, and frankly, much harder to stop. This is why defense experts like Tom Caracco of the Center for Strategic and International Studies warned in May 2025 that the United States was, quote, pretty vulnerable. One of the biggest new dangers is the hypersonic missile. These weapons can travel at more than 5 times the speed of sound. But speed is only part of the problem here. Unlike ballistic missiles, which follow a predictable arc, hypersonic missiles can maneuver throughout their flight. They can fly low to the ground, hugging the terrain to stay below radar coverage. This combination of extreme speed and unpredictable movement really makes them a nightmare for existing defense systems. By the time our old radars detect them, it's often just too late to do anything about it. Another rapidly growing threat comes from drones and cruise missiles. We saw the devastating potential of these weapons in the Iranian attacks of 2024. A coordinated swarm of hundreds of drones and missiles can overwhelm even sophisticated air defenses. These weapons are relatively cheap, easy to produce, and can be launched from almost anywhere, land, sea, or air. Defending against a massive multi-directional attack from a swarm of these smaller, smarter weapons is a completely different challenge than stopping a handful of large ballistic missiles. Our current system just isn't designed to handle this type of saturation attack. The Golden Dome is being designed specifically to counter these modern threats. Its space-based sensors are intended to provide global persistent surveillance, spotting launches the moment they happen. The layered interceptors, both in space and on the ground, are meant to provide multiple opportunities to shoot down incoming threats, including highly maneuverable hypersonic weapons. The system's architecture is also being built to handle swarm attacks, using advanced command and control systems to prioritize targets and coordinate a massive defensive response. The argument for the Golden Dome is simple. The nature of war has changed, and our shield must change with it. A shield for an entire continent does not come cheap. The Golden Dome project carries a staggering estimated price tag of $175 billion over just 3 years. This enormous figure has immediately become a major point of contention in Washington and Ottawa. Supporters of the project argue that the cost, while high, is a necessary investment in national security. They point to the potentially catastrophic consequences of a successful missile attack on a major city. From their perspective, no price is too high to prevent such a disaster and ensure the safety of millions of citizens. In the United States, the project has strong backing from the Republican Party. Senator Roger Wicker, a key figure on the Senate Armed Services Committee, has championed the plan and promised a significant down payment of $25 billion to get the project started. Proponents argue that this is not just spending, but an investment that will also create high-tech jobs and drive innovation in the aerospace and defense industries. They see the Golden Dome as a critical step to re-establish American technological superiority and to send a clear message to potential adversaries that North America is not a viable target. However, the massive cost has raised serious alarms, particularly among Democrats. Senator Jack Reed, Wicker's counterpart on the Armed Services Committee, has voiced deep skepticism. He and others have questioned the feasibility of spending such a vast sum of money so quickly and effectively. They worry that the initial budget request is little more than a slush fund, a huge pot of money with no detailed plan or clear oversight. They are demanding more specifics on how the money will be spent, what the milestones are, and how taxpayers can be sure they are getting value for their money. This debate echoes past controversies over hugely expensive defense projects. Many are drawing parallels to President Ronald Reagan's Star Wars program in the 1980s, a similarly ambitious missile defense plan that ultimately collapsed under the weight of its own technological challenges and astronomical costs. The Congressional Budget Office has previously estimated that even a less complex space-based interceptor network could cost up to $542 billion over 20 years. Critics fear the Golden Dome's initial $175 billion estimate is just the tip of the iceberg, and that the project could become a black hole for public funds. Beyond the monumental cost, there is a fundamental question hanging over the Golden Dome project. Is the technology even ready? Building a reliable, multi-layered missile shield to protect a landmass the size of North America is an engineering challenge of unprecedented scale. It requires a perfect symphony of satellites, radars, command systems, and interceptors, all working together flawlessly in a matter of seconds. The project's supporters, including officials within the U.S. Space Force, express confidence. They argue that technologies that were science fiction during the Star Wars era have now matured, making such a system achievable. They point to advances in sensor technology, computing power, and artificial intelligence. Modern satellites can provide far more detailed and persistent surveillance than ever before. AI-driven command systems can process immense amounts of data in real time, distinguishing real threats from false alarms and coordinating a complex defensive battle. There have also been significant breakthroughs in interceptor technology, creating kill vehicles that are faster, more agile, and more accurate. Proponents believe that by integrating these advanced components, the Golden Dome can overcome the technical hurdles that doomed its predecessors. However, many independent experts remain deeply skeptical. They warn that the leap from individual successful tests to a fully integrated, constantly operational, and reliable continental system is enormous. One of the biggest challenges is discrimination. The ability of the system to distinguish between actual enemy warheads and decoys. An adversary could launch a handful of real missiles, along with dozens or even hundreds of simple, cheap decoys designed to overwhelm the defense. The Golden Dome sensors and interceptors would need to be smart enough to ignore the decoys and focus only on the real threats, a task that is incredibly difficult. There is also the problem of shot doctrine. How many interceptors do you fire at each incoming threat to ensure a kill? If you fire one, you might miss. If you fire four, you increase your chances, but you also use up your limited and very expensive interceptors 4 times as fast. In the face of a large-scale attack with multiple warheads and decoys, a defender could quickly exhaust their entire arsenal, leaving the continent vulnerable. Critics argue that no matter how advanced the technology, a determined attacker can always find a way to saturate and defeat a defensive system. The technological promise of the Golden Dome remains, for now, an unproven hypothesis. The Golden Dome project is not just a technical and financial debate, it is also a deeply political one. In the United States, the initiative has become a clear partisan issue. The Republican Party, following President Trump's lead, has fully embraced the plan, including it in their 2024 party platform. They frame it as a matter of national strength and a necessary response to a dangerous world. For them, building the Golden Dome is a demonstration of American resolve and a fulfillment of the government's primary duty to protect its citizens. They see hesitation or opposition as a sign of weakness. On the other side of the aisle, Democrats have expressed significant reservations. Their concerns are not just about the cost, but also about the strategic implications. Some worry that building such a massive defensive shield could be destabilizing. The logic of the Cold War was based on mutually assured destruction. The idea that neither side would launch a first strike because they knew they would be destroyed in a retaliatory strike. If one side believes it is immune to attack because of a defensive shield, it might be more willing to take risks or even launch a preemptive strike, making the world more dangerous, not less. In Canada, the political discussion is more nuanced. The Canadian government, led by Premier Mark Carney, has agreed to work closely with the US, but has not yet committed to a specific financial contribution or level of involvement. Ottawa is in a difficult position. On one hand, Canada's security is inextricably linked to that of the US, and participating in the project ensures Canada has a voice in the future of continental defense. On the other hand, the cost would be a massive strain on the Canadian budget, and there is a political reluctance to be seen as simply following America's lead on a controversial, Trump-led initiative. The debate also involves our allies and adversaries. How will NATO partners in Europe view this massive North American shield? Will they feel more secure, or will they feel left behind? More importantly, how will Russia and China react? Will they see the Golden Dome as a purely defensive system, or will they view it as an aggressive move that upsets the global strategic balance? Their response will likely be to build more and even more advanced offensive weapons to defeat the shield, potentially triggering a new and very expensive arms race. These political and diplomatic ripples will be felt around the globe. We stand at a critical crossroads for the future of North American security. The Golden Dome proposal is the most ambitious and expensive defense project in a generation. It promises a new level of safety from the terrifying threats of hypersonic missiles and drone swarms. It aims to build a modern fortress over our continent, updating the historic partnership between Canada and the United States for the 21st century. The vision is compelling, a shield that ensures our peace and security, allowing us to sleep soundly at night, fully protected from attack. But the questions surrounding this vision are as massive as the project itself. Can we truly afford a price tag that starts at $175 billion and will likely grow much larger? Is the technology truly ready to deliver on its promise? Or are we chasing a science fiction dream that will fail, just as Star Wars did decades ago? And what are the unintended consequences? Will building this shield make us safer, or will it provoke our adversaries into a new, more dangerous and more expensive arms race that leaves everyone less secure? The answers to these questions are far from clear. This is not just a debate for generals and politicians. The decisions made about the Golden Dome will affect every single citizen of Canada and the United States. It will shape our budgets, our foreign policy, and our sense of security for decades to come. It forces us to ask fundamental questions about the price of safety and the nature of peace in a rapidly changing world. Is it better to invest in an impenetrable shield, or are there other, more effective ways to ensure our security through diplomacy, arms control, and international cooperation? Now we want to hear from you. This partnership between our two great nations has kept us safe for more than half a century. As we look to the future, what do you think is the right path forward? Do you believe the Golden Dome is a necessary investment to protect us from modern threats? Or are the costs and risks too high? What are your thoughts on this joint US-Canada effort to stop missile strikes? Your voice is an important part of this conversation. Let us know in the comments below. And for more updates on North American defense and global security, be sure to subscribe to the SNB.